All right, after delay, it's been 2 weeks since we've been here, as I've been battling various illnesses, but at last we've returned for our next chapter of Revenge of the Sith. Welcome, Owen, how you doing? Today we're going to be reading Chapter 9, Padme, which is her first appearance, I believe, outside of there was a flashback that Anakin had, but we finally get to actually see Padme in this novel, and we get to some of the more controversial elements of the novel, to be fair. Much as I love it, I will always point out what other people don't, and yeah, Padme's appearance is one of the more, I don't necessarily want to say panned, but definitely criticized aspects of the book. I myself have always staunchly defended it as, Matthew Stover is just translating what George Lucas writes. He has to write the novel based on the movie George wrote, and George wrote a movie where Padme Amidala will drop dead if her boyfriend is too mean to her. So he wrote that accurately, and he wrote a character who believably would have that negative reaction to it. And unfortunately, that makes her just a bit dramatic. But that's not his fault. He's doing his job, and he does it well, in my opinion. How's it going, Alf? How you doing? We're gonna be starting as usual, probably in about 10 minutes. You still feel like Padme could have freed Anakin's mom? She tries, actually. I can't remember if Legends ever touched on it, but in canon, she tries actually very hard. She sends her most trusted handmaiden Sabe, who goes to Tatooine, asks around about this slave woman who may have been sold, but people are a little suspicious of this random outsider asking about slave purchases, and they don't want to tell her much. And so it's kind of covered that, she just unfortunately screwed up. She went in a bit too hard and lost the trail of Shmi. But Padme did, what she was able to. Let's see. Alf, though you look like a rogue today. I am a bit roguish, aren't I? That's what I like about this coat. The only bummer is, if you want to see roguish, let me show you the arms. It's literally falling apart, which I think, there's something to be said about the craftsmanship of something that could fall apart like this. But I wear it to work, and it's often just getting wet and cold, so it's a bit tough, Battle damage, exactly. Weird to not hit a bounty hunter a week after episode 1. So a bounty hunter couldn't really do the job. The issue is that the slaves have explosive devices in their necks, or it may be in their head. I shouldn't be too specific about where the bomb is, but essentially you can't just take a slave away. If they pull her away without Watto approving the sale in some way, she's gonna die. So it's a little tricky. Buy her free. You could hire them to buy her freedom, give her a job on Naboo. That also presumes that Watto is selling, which he wasn't to Qui-Gon. But I don't fully disagree either. I do think, between Qui-Gon and Padme, I think it's a bit of a failure that they didn't get him out of there. Padme is rich, but that doesn't mean Watto may need someone. He may not be interested in selling no matter the price. Let's see. Joe asks, what are your favorite canon novels, or top 3 if one is too hard to pick? My number 1 is actually pretty easy. It's going to be Thrawn 2017 by Timothy Zahn, the first recanonization of the character outside of Rebels, and it's one of the best Thrawn novels, in my opinion, out of the dozen or so that they did. I'm trying to think what are going to be my other top 2. Shadow of the Sith is definitely up there. That might be number 2. Shoot, any of the Alphabet Squadron books. Which one is the third? Freedom's Price. That one is really phenomenal. So it may be Freedom's Price. Inferno Squad was great. Oh, Lost Stars. It's got to be Lost Stars. Lost Stars is so phenomenal. Let's see. Seen this video on YouTube from a content creator who didn't know Star Wars and started with the Revenge of the Sith novel. You've started at the top. That's not a bad place. You plan on watching Andor? Hell yeah. I hope you love it as much as I do. If you love it half as much as I do, you're in for the ride of your life. It's incredible. Uh, let's see. The new Thrawn, is that good? I think so. I adore Thrawn 2017. It's my favorite entry of his. It's a very like Sherlock Holmes kind of novel, you know, solving the problems that are presented to this empire. Let's see. Your opinion, best fighter, like best starfighter? I've always been a big fan of the A-Wing. I like the sleek and fast. I like the zip in, blast him, and get out. Starforge mentions New Jedi Order. I have not read the New Jedi Order yet, so I cannot speak to it. I'm trying to get through my list of prerequisites before I finally get to it because I want the best experience possible when I finally get to it. Do you have any Vault Edition books? The Jedi Path or the Book of the Sith? I don't. I don't get a lot of the like reference books. I'm mostly interested in the novels. I have considered getting like Book of the Sith though, because that one does have some interesting stuff I want to read. But Joe asks again about Alphabet Squadron. I think it's absolutely that good. I think it's one of the best trilogies in the series. Maybe maybe better than some of the movie trilogies. Actually, it's definitely better than some of the movie trilogies. Others are questionable. Let's see. Favorite season of The Mandalorian? Probably season 1. Season 2 has its highlights, but I think it got a bit too cameo focused. It's just a bit too much like every other episode is, hey, check it out. It's this person. And it's not terrible, and the finale is very good, but I think it's a little weaker than season 1. And season 3, I think we all know, is a bit messy. Timothy Zahn is okay, but not enough lightsabers. There's more than enough lightsabers. I mean, if you read the original Thrawn trilogy, there's plenty of lightsabers in that. Luke and Mara running around with sabers. They're all over the place. David asks, when was the first time you came in contact with Star Wars? I couldn't possibly tell you. Before I can remember. I do not remember ever not being a Star Wars fan. I was introduced probably when I was too young to really notice it. My parents probably showed my brother at like a reasonable age, and then I, being around, watched it younger than that, But my two oldest memories that I possess, one is playing Pokemon Blue, and the other is using my Darth Maul double-bladed lightsaber, and it's a core memory. Who do you think would win in a fight, Padme or Leia? Padme is a pretty upper crust, silver spoon princess, whereas Leia, like, yes, a princess, but she's a rebel. Leia was in a war. I think Leia would wipe the floor with Padme. Just started Maul Shadowhunter, hell yeah. And you got Maul Lockdown too. I don't like Lockdown as much as Shadowhunter, but it's not bad either. Shadowhunter is really good though. Oh, and Papa Gandhi, you meant dual fighter, as in Jedi or Sith. If I have to choose between the two, I'm going to go Jedi. The Jedi is just better. The Sith are miserable. They hate being Sith. They just won't admit it to themselves because they think it makes them strong. What's the best non-animation Star Wars series to watch right now? Andor. Not close. It's so far above. You're 52. You're not down with the expanded universe, and you feel bad for you that you didn't live it from the start. We are not the same. I don't necessarily think I want to be the same based on how you're coming into this. The idea that there's some elitism gained from being old, that you were around in 1977, it would be cool seeing like the world change before and after, but like there's no expertise or higher understanding granted by being old and being around for it to begin with. If anything, I think it's going to sway your opinion based on which ones came out when you were young. And not down with the expanded universe. The expanded universe has some incredible stuff. You're missing out. Oh, thank you, Papa Gandhi, for the follow. Let's see. I will grant. King Charles III has asked, have you ever farted so hard it stings? Every time. Padme was in a war too. No, she took part in a couple of engagements, but she doesn't really participate in the war. She was there for the Battle of Geonosis, but then she goes back to Coruscant and stays in her ivory towers. She's not a fighter. She's not a soldier on the front lines like Leia is. Leia is in actual like combat situations frequently. Have you ever dueled with those sabers? Not with these ones, no. 2 of them are NeoPixel, so they're not like safe for dueling. You'll break them. But the other 2 are baselit. I just don't fight them a lot. Paul, I love Star Trek too. Star Trek's great. I adore Star Trek. TNG is my favorite, but any of the Star Treks are fantastic. All right, so let's see. 7:08. I figure at 7:10 we'll start on our next chapter. For those who haven't been here, we've been reading Revenge of the Sith. We are just past the crashing of the invisible hand, and we're moving on to our first chapter, introducing Padme Amidala into the narrative. She's only made brief appearances in some of Anakin's memories. Let's see. Took you too long to find out about Dayblades. Dayblades. I guess, is that something for like a NeoPixel that's like you can clash them? Based on context, I feel like that would be how to define it. It's not elitism, it was the excitement. New sci-fi. Looked amazing. Having to wait. Magic. That's not elitism. The elitism is the I pity you not being here for it. That's the elitism part. It's the you understand it less than I because I was there. That's definitely the issue. Like the colored tubes instead of white. Oh, I get you. Yeah, like just the casual, like even, the Disney parks, they have like, it's a $20 saber that's like, it's just a purple tube, so that way it lights up, but it doesn't need to actually have colored LEDs. Right? Is that the kind of thing you're talking about? Because, yeah, that would be easy to fight with. Those ones are cheap as hell. Let's see, are you reading the current Star Wars comic run? It's all right, but some stuff just feels out of place. I haven't kept up on the main Star Wars run in a bit, but I've heard mixed things. I haven't even... I need to find and finish... What is it? Rise of Kylo Ren? No, Legacy of Vader. I was really enjoying it, but I never finished the last issue, and so I gotta go find that. Someone asked, where'd you get that shirt? I have to assume you're referring to the jacket, because the shirt is like, I think it's just a Hollister gray. The jacket, though, I got from Disney World, but I do have to let you know, this patch is sewed on myself. It is not from the base jacket. I've made some attachments. Jeff, I just can't share it with you. Your Star Wars isn't the same as we had. I'm sorry for that. Again, this is the elitism part. And it's also wrong. It's the same Star Wars. Like, if you're talking about, like, the special editions are worse, that's true. But the other ones didn't get burned out of existence. George can't warp reality. I'd say that, again, you saying it's not the same largely comes off as a good thing, Jeff, because you are presenting it horribly. The jacket is so cool. Very nice patches. Thank you. Yeah, I love this one. I was showing off earlier, though. It's torn to shreds, which is unfortunate because I have adored having this jacket. What are your ranks of Star Wars movies? Oh, I try to avoid ranking all the movies, but I'll give, to me, the original trilogy is always the top three. If we're talking best, Empire, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi. If we're talking favorite, A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi. And those are all pretty close, I should say. Return of the Jedi is a little bit below the other two, but Empire and A New Hope, I could probably flip back and forth on either of those axes. Honestly, I love the pod racing in Phantom Menace. It's a classic, It's one of those things where I still think that there are a lot of criticisms to be had in, like, the execution of the scene in the movie. A lot of the way it presents pod racing could use some work, but, like, the concept itself is cool as hell. That's why I'm so excited we're finally getting another racing game to play in pod racers. I can't believe it's taken them this long to do another one. Let's see. Legacy of Vader ended pretty well. That's good to hear. And hope the writer comes back. Isn't it written by Soule? Or am I misremembering? Because if it's Charles Soule, I'm sure he's going to be back. He's been around for years. Vroom Sako says you should watch F. And I'll keep an eye on it. I've been watching E lately, but I'll move on. Have you heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Well, I'm going to be hearing it in, I don't know, probably 10 chapters or so. But we're at 7:12, so I think we're going to dive in with our chapter here and get to where we're going. So yeah, once again, we're on chapter 9, Padme. From the shadow of a great pillar stretching up into the reddening afternoon that leaked through the vaulted roof of transparisteel over the atrium of the Senate office building, she watched senators clustering in through the archway from the Chancellor's landing platform. And then she saw the Chancellor himself, and C-3PO, and yes, that was R2-D2. And so he could not be far behind. and only then did she finally find him among them, tall and straight, his hair radiation bleached to golden streaks, and on his lips a lively smile that opened her chest and unlocked her heart. And she could breathe again. Through the swirl of HoloNet reporters and the chatter of senators and the gently comforting tones of Palpatine's most polished, reassuringly paternal voice, she did not move, not so much as to lift a hand or turn her head. She was silent and still, only letting herself breathe, feeling the beat of her heart, and she could have stood there forever, in the shadows, and had her fondest dreams all fulfilled simply by watching him be alive. But when he moved away from the group, pacing in soft conversation with Bail Organa of Alderaan, and she heard Bail saying something about the end of Count Dooku and the end of the war, and finally an end to Palpatine's police state tactics, her breath caught again and she held it, because she knew the next thing she heard would be his voice. "I wish that were so," he said. "But the fighting will continue until General Grievous is spare parts. The Chancellor is very clear on this, and I believe the Senate and the Jedi Council will both agree." And beyond that, there was no hope she could be happier, until his eye found her silent, still shadow, and he straightened, and a new light broke over his golden face, and he said, "Excuse me," to the senator from Alderaan, and a moment later he came to her in the shadows, and they were in each other's arms. Their lips met, and the universe became, one last time, perfect. Let's see, we'll take a pause. Is this Revenge of the Sith? It is, and thank you, Darth Synovis, for the follow. This is Padmé Amidala. She is an astonishingly accomplished young woman who in her short life has been already the youngest ever elected queen of her planet, a daring partisan guerrilla, and a measured, articulate, and persuasive voice of reason in the Republic Senate. But she is, at this moment, none of these things. She can still play at them. She pretends to be a senator. She still wields the moral authority of a former queen, and she is not shy about using her reputation for fierce physical courage to her advantage in political debate. But her inmost reality, the most fundamental, unbreakable core of her being, is something entirely different. She is Anakin Skywalker's wife. Yet wife is a word too weak to carry the truth of her. Wife is such a small word, such a common word, a word that can come from a downturned mouth with so many petty, unpleasant echoes. For Padmé Amidala, saying I am Anakin Skywalker's wife is saying neither more nor less than I am alive. Her life before Anakin belonged to someone else, some lesser being to be pitied, some poor, impoverished spirit who could never suspect how profoundly life should be lived. Her real life began the first time she looked into Anakin Skywalker's eyes and found in there not the uncritical worship of little Annie from Tatooine, but the direct, unashamed, smoldering passion of a powerful Jedi. A young man, to be sure, but every centimeter a man. A man whose legend was already growing within the Jedi Order and beyond. A man who knew exactly what he wanted and was honest enough to simply ask for it. A man strong enough to unroll his deepest feelings before her without fear and without shame. A man who had loved her for a decade, with faithful and patient heart, while he waited for the act of destiny he was sure would someday open her own heart to the fire in his. But though she loves her husband without reservation, love does not blind her to his faults. She is older than he, and wise enough to understand him better than he does himself. He is not a perfect man. He is prideful, and moody, and quick to anger. But these faults only make her love him the more, for his every flaw is more than balanced by the greatness within him. His capacity for joy and cleansing laughter, his extraordinary generosity of spirit, his passionate devotion not only to her, but also in the service of every living being. He is a wild creature who has come gently to her hand, a vine tiger purring against her cheek. Every softness of his touch, every kind glance or loving word is a small miracle in itself. How can she not be grateful for such gifts? This is why she will not allow their marriage to become public knowledge. Her husband needs to be a Jedi. Saving people is what he was born for. To take that away from him would cripple every good thing in his troubled heart. Now she holds him in their infinite kiss, with both arms tight around his neck, because there is a cold dread in the center of her heart that whispers this kiss is not infinite at all, that it's only a pause in the headlong rush of the universe, and when it ends, she will have to face the future. And she is terrified, because while he has been away, everything has changed. Today, here in the hallway of the Senate office building, she brings him news of a gift they have given each other, a gift of joy and of terror. This gift is the edge of a knife that has already cut their past from their future. For these long years, they have held each other only in secret, only in moments stolen from the business of the Republic and the war. Their love has been the perfect refuge, a long, quiet afternoon, warm and sunny, sealed away from fear and doubt, from duty and from danger. But now she carries within her a planetary terminator that will end their warm afternoon forever and leave them blind in the oncoming night. She is more, now, than Anakin Skywalker's wife. She is the mother of Anakin Skywalker's unborn child. Oof. Ain't that something? Thank you, Shari, for the follow. And it's a very relaxing stream. I'm glad to hear that. And thank you, Jake, as well. Favorite lightsaber in the Star Wars universe is going to be Luke's Revenge of the Sith. Phenomenal. No, Return of the Jedi. All these titles sound the same. The Return of the Jedi, his green lightsaber. Let's see, you finally got your hands on a Grievous figure. Hell yeah. But yeah, I want to take a moment, actually, before I get to the next part of it at the very end, because, yeah, that's the main section that people criticize with Padme, is all that stuff about her fawning over Anakin. And so I love that Stover includes a footnote. I know how this sounds. Believe me, I do. This is supposed to be about how Padme feels, not who she is. Groundwork for the death by heartbreak thing. Like, he acknowledges, yeah, we gotta set up someone who's gonna die when she gets too sad. This is how you do that. How's it going, Corbin? Thank you for the heart. Let's see, favorite EU, Sith, or Jedi? Does Plagueis count? If not Plagueis, Malgus. Plagueis is like tentatively movie canon. Can you read me story before I go to bed? I can, and I'll be jumping back in a second. Let me just finish. Favorite EU Jedi? Maybe Kyle Katarn, maybe Nomi Sunrider. Those are the two that come to mind. All right. After an all too brief eternity, the kiss finally ended. She clung to him, just breathing in the presence of him after so long, murmuring love against his broad, strong chest, while he murmured love into the coils of her softly scented hair. Some time later, she found words again. Anakin, Anakin, oh my Anakin, I can't believe you're home. They told me... She almost choked on the memory. There were whispers that you'd been killed. I couldn't, every day. Never believe stories like that, he whispered. Never. I will always come back to you, Padme. I've lived a year for every hour you were away. It's been a lifetime. 2. She reached up to the burn scar high on his cheek. You were hurt. Nothing serious, he said with half a smile. Just an unfriendly reminder to keep up with my lightsaber practice. 5 months. It was almost a moan. 5 months. How could they do that to us? He rested his cheek lightly on the crown of her head. If the Chancellor hadn't been kidnapped, I'd still be out there. I'm almost... It's terrible to say it, but I'm grateful. I'm glad he was kidnapped. It's like it was all arranged just to bring me home again. His arms were so strong and so warm, and his hand touched her hair in the softest caress, and though he was afraid she were as fragile as a dream, and he bent down for another kiss, a new kiss, a kiss that would wipe away every dark dream and all the days and hours and minutes of unbearable dread. But only steps away, the main vault of the atrium still held senators and HoloNet crews, and the knowledge of the price Anakin would pay when their love became known made her turn her face aside, and put her hands on his chest to hold him away. Anakin, not here. It's too risky. No, here. Exactly here. He drew her against him again, effortlessly overpowering her half-hearted resistance. I'm tired of the deception, of the sneaking and the lying. We have nothing to be ashamed of. We love each other and we are married, just like trillions of beings across the galaxy. This is something we should shout, not whisper. No, Anakin, not like all those others. They are not Jedi. We can't let our love force you out of the Order. Force me out of the Order? He smiled down at her fondly. Was that a pun? Anakin. He could still make her angry without even trying. Listen to me. We have a duty to the Republic. Both of us. But yours is now so much more important. You are the face of the Jedi, Anakin. Even after these years of war, many people still love the Jedi, and it's mostly because they love you. Do you understand that? They love the story of you. You're like something out of a bedtime tale, the secret prince hidden among the peasants, growing up without ever a clue of his special destiny. Except for you, it's all true. Sometimes I think that the only reason the people of the Republic still believe we can win the war is because you're fighting it for them. And it always comes back to politics for you, Anakin said. His smile had gone now. I'm barely even home, and you're already trying to talk me into going back to the war. This isn't about politics, Anakin. It's about you. Something has changed, hasn't it? Thunder gathered in his voice. I felt it, even outside. Something has changed. She lowered her head. Everything has changed. What is it? What? He took her by the shoulders now, his hands hard and irresistibly powerful. There's someone else. I can feel it in the Force. There is someone coming between us. Not the way you think, she said. Anakin, listen. Who is it? Who? Stop it, Anakin, stop. You'll hurt us. His hands sprang open, as though she had burned them. He took an unsteady step backwards, his face suddenly ashen. Padme, I would never. I'm sorry, I just... He leaned on the pillar and brought a hand weakly to his eyes. The hero with no fear. What a joke. Padme, I can't lose you. I can't. You're all I live for. Wait. He lifted his head, frowning quizzically. Did you say us? She reached for him, and he came to meet her hand. Rising tears burned her eyes, and her lip trembled. Annie, I'm pregnant. She watched him as everything their child would mean cycled through his mind, and her heart caught when she saw first of all the wild, almost explosive joy that dawned over his face, because that meant that whatever he had gone through on the Outer Rim, he was still her Annie. It meant that the war that had scarred his face had not scarred his spirit. And she watched that joy fade as he began to understand that their marriage could not stay hidden much longer, that even the voluminous robes she wore could not conceal a pregnancy forever, that he would be cast out in disgrace from the Jedi Order, that she would be relieved of her post and recalled to Naboo, that the very celebrity that had made him so important to the war would turn against them both, making them the freshest possible meat for an entire galaxy full of scandalmongers. And she watched him decide that he didn't care. That is, he said slowly, that wild spark returning to his eyes. Wonderful. Padme, that's wonderful. How long have you known? She shook her head. What are we going to do? We're going to be happy. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to be together. All three of us. But, no. He laid a gentle finger on her lips, smiling down at her. No buts. No worries. You worry too much as it is. I have to, she said, smiling through the tears in her eyes, because you never worry at all. Ooh, we'll take a pause there as well. Start over. I just joined. You're about 8 chapters late for that. But I post every chapter on my YouTube channel, same name as the TikTok page, if you ever want to re-listen. Let's see. How come there's no content on the future of Star Wars post-Rey? Well, they're working on it, and hopefully we get to it soon, but I think they're just taking their time to make sure that it's good, whatever they end up going with, you know? Hopefully that's how it works out. And yeah, The Last Order is after Rise of Skywalker. Technically, Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire is post-Rise of Skywalker, but it doesn't really have, like, a narrative after. It's just written after that, so there are references to it. Let's see. You'll go subscribe now. It's very relaxing. Thank you. I'm glad people enjoy it. I'm there's a part of me that still is baffled that anyone wants to listen to me do anything. So I'm glad to have you. Let's see. Did I miss any other? How much do your lightsaber cost? Varying, but usually around like $200. Completely off topic, what are your thoughts on Transformers? I like them, but I'm not the biggest fan. I liked them more when I was younger. Had a couple of the toys. Let's see, if you count that, then you can also count the Star Wars Bestiary as it talks about the Clone Emperor. Oh, interesting. I didn't know he was in there. But does it have, like, a set author? Like, Beaumont Kin is canonically the writer of that book, and he is writing it post Rise of Skywalker as, like, a reference on it. Like, does the Star Wars Bestiary... I don't think that exists in fiction, whereas Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire does. It's a in-fiction history by a real character, you know? It also does have an in-universe post-author? Oh, hell yeah. That's pretty cool. Then I guess, yeah, that's also another, technically, post-Rise of Skywalker, which is funny. I think that's a neat genre. Let's see. You don't know much about Star Wars, but is Starkiller canon from Force Unleashed? No, unfortunately, he is still non-canon. He was wiped out with everything else, but maybe eventually. Sam Witwer certainly wants to bring him back. Which era of Mandalorians is your favorite? I do like the Mando show, so I think that's cool, and there's a lot of interesting stuff there. But I gotta give it to Old Republic, probably pre-Exar Kun Mandalorians. I think they're sick. All right, let's continue. Because we got a nice gap there, which is why we took a pause. But Anakin lurched upright in bed, gasping, staring blindly into alien darkness. How she had screamed for him. How she had begged for him. How her strength had failed on that alien table. How at the last she could only whimper, "Anakin, I'm sorry. I love you. I love you," thundered inside his head, blinding him to the contours of the night-shrouded room, deafening him to every sound save the turbo hammer of his heart. His hand of flesh found unfamiliar coils of sweat-damp silken sheets around his waist. Finally, he remembered where he was. He half-turned, and she was with him, lying on her side, her glorious fall of hair fanned across her pillow, eyes closed, half a smile on her precious lips. And when he saw the long, slow rise and fall of her chest with the cycle of her breathing, he turned away and buried his face in his hands and sobbed. The tears that ran between his fingers then were tears of gratitude. She was alive, and she was with him. In silence so deep he could hear the whirring of the electro-drivers in his mechanical hand, he disentangled himself from the sheets and got up. Through the closet, a long, curving sweep of stairs led to the veranda that overlooked Padme's private landing deck. Leaning on the night-chilled rail, Anakin stared out upon the endless nightscape of Coruscant. It was still burning. Coruscant at night has always been an endless galaxy of light, shining from trillions of windows in billions of buildings that reached kilometers into the sky, with navigation lights and advertising and the infinite streams of speeders running lights coursing the rivers of traffic lanes overhead. But tonight, local power outages had swallowed ragged swaths of the city into vast nebulae of darkness, broken only by the malignant red dwarf glares of innumerable fires. Anakin didn't know how long he stood there, staring. The city looked like he felt, damaged, broken in battle, stained with darkness. And he'd rather look at the city than think about why he was out here looking at it in the first place. She moved more quietly than the smoky breeze, but he felt her approach. She took a place beside him at the railing and laid her soft human hand along the back of his hard mechanical one, and she simply stood with him, staring silently out across the city that had become her second home, waiting patiently for him to tell her what was wrong, trusting that he would. He could feel her patience and her trust, and he was so grateful for both that tears welled once more. He had to blink out at the burning night and blink again to keep those fresh tears from spilling over onto his cheeks. He put his flesh hand on top of hers and held it gently until he could let himself speak. "It was a dream," he said finally. She accepted this with a slow, serious nod. "Bad?" "It was like the ones I used to have." He couldn't look at her. "About my mother." Again a nod, but even slower and more serious. "And?" "And..." He looked down at her small, slim fingers, and he slipped his between them, clasping their two hands into a knot of prayer. "It was about you." Now she turned aside, leaning once more upon the rail, staring out into the night, and in the slowly pulsing rose glow of the distant fires, she was more beautiful than he had ever seen her. "All right," she said softly. "It was about me." Then she simply waited, still trusting. When Anakin could finally make himself tell her, his voice was raw and hoarse, as though he'd been shouting all day. "It was about you dying," he said. "I couldn't stand it. I can't stand it." He couldn't look at her. He looked at the city, at the deck, at the stars, and he found no place he could bear to see. All he could do was close his eyes. "You're going to die in childbirth." "Oh," she said. That was all. She had only a few months left to live. They had only a few months left to love each other. She would never see their child, and all she said was, "Oh." After a moment, the touch of her hand to his cheek brought his eyes open again, and he found her gazing up at him calmly. "And the baby?" He shook his head. "I don't know." She nodded and pulled away, drifting toward one of the veranda chairs. She lowered herself into it and stared down at her hands, clasped together in her lap. He couldn't take it. He couldn't watch her be calm and accepting about her own death. He came to her side and knelt. "It won't happen, Padme. I won't let it. I could have saved my mother a day earlier, an hour. He bit down on the rising pain inside him and spoke through clenched teeth. "This dream will not become real." She nodded. "I didn't think it would." He blinked. "You didn't?" "This is Coruscant, Annie, not Tatooine. Women don't die in childbirth on Coruscant, not even the Twilighters in the down levels. And I have a top-flight medical droid who assures me I am in perfect health. Your dream must have been some kind of metaphor or something." My dreams are literal, Padme. I wouldn't know a metaphor if it bit me. And I couldn't see the place you were in. You might not even be on Coruscant." She looked away. "I had been thinking about going somewhere else. Having the baby in secret to protect you, so you can stay in the Order." "I don't want to stay in the Order." He took her face between his palms, so that she had to look into his eyes, so that she had to see how much he meant every word he said. "Don't protect me. I don't need it. We have to start thinking right now about how we can protect you, because all I want is for us to be together." "And we will be," she said. "But there must be more to your dream than death in childbirth. That doesn't make any sense." "I know, but I can't begin to guess what it might be. It's too... I can't even think about it, Padme. I'll go crazy. What are we going to do?" She kissed the palm of his hand of flesh. "We're going to do what you told me when I asked you the same question this afternoon. We're going to be happy together." "But we can't just... Wait, I can't. I have to do something." "Of course you do," she smiled fondly. "That's who you are. That's what being a hero is. What about Obi-Wan?" He frowned. "What about him?" "You once told me that he is as wise as Yoda and as powerful as Mace Windu. Couldn't he help us?" "No." Anakin's chest clenched like a fist squeezing his heart. "I can't. I'd have to tell him." "He's your best friend, Annie. He must suspect already." Oh, give me a second. Which book is this? This is Revenge of the Sith by Matthew Stover. Happy birthday, white boy named Jamie. Glad to have you here. You'd fall to the dark side for Padme too. Who wouldn't? Look at her. Bo, the Empire did nothing wrong. This is the book for you. This is all about pro-Empire. Just finished the book for the 5th time. Hell yeah. Oh, thank you for the heart, Shari. Oh, let's see. Kara, I don't know if you're still here, but yeah, you thought Star Wars were just movies. Were they based on books? No, they're movies first, and then the books are based on those movies. But in many cases, particularly this one, the book is better. You love how Stover made the extra dialogue cringy, too. It's got to fit with who Anakin and Padme are, but it's not as bad as the movie. Maybe I'm biased. Maybe I just like it so much. Which movie is your favorite one? New Hope. That's the best one. Well, Empire's probably the best, but New Hope, it's just such a fun ride. Oh, wow, I thought it was books first, then movies. Didn't know it was the other way around. No, yeah, they were written to be movies. Although, technically, A New Hope's novel, most of the novels do come out before the movies, but they're written as screenplays, and then an author is brought in to adapt that. But, like, so, the first Star Wars product released was the A New Hope novelization. I believe it's even 1976, as opposed to 77. I'll go crazy. Yeah. How many Star Wars books do you have? Gosh, good question. Well over 100, at least. I mean, probably close to 200. I'd need to count them. Let's see. We need to text. You think it would be interesting? I mean, you're welcome to join. I have a Discord page that we chat Star Wars in frequently, so you can follow the link in my bio if anyone wants to come. You can get updates on whenever I'm going live, as well as, yeah, just general. It's a Star Wars community. Is that Grievous's pre-cyborg mask on your shelf? It's not specifically Grievous's, but it is a Kalish war mask, yeah, which is very cool. And yeah, Bo, you joined the Discord. I noticed you joined the Discord. I'm seeing a lot more Imperial propaganda in the Discord lately. I'm well aware. All right, I cut off mid-sentence. I had to resume. Just had to get a sip. Wow, you didn't realize there were so many books surrounding Star Wars. Oh, there's even more than this. I think the total is around 400 novels. It's crazy. Have you read Dark Disciple? I have. I like that one a lot. All right, let's see. We'll pick back up with, he's your best friend, Annie. He must suspect already. It's one thing to have him suspect. It's something else to shove it in his face. He's still on the council. He'd have to report me. And what? Is there something you haven't told me? He turned away. I'm not sure he's on my side. Your side? Anakin, what are you saying? He's on the Jedi Council, Padme. I know my name has come up for mastery. I'm more powerful than any Jedi Master alive, but someone is blocking me. Obi-Wan could tell me who and why, but he doesn't. I'm not sure he even stands up for me with them. I can't believe that. It has nothing to do with believing, he murmured, softly bitter. It's the truth. There must be some reason, then. Anakin, he's your best friend. He loves you. Maybe he does, but I don't think he trusts me. His eyes went as bleak as the empty night, and I'm not sure we can trust him. Anakin, she clutched at his arm. What would make you say that? None of them trust me, Padme. None of them. You know what I feel when they look at me? Anakin, he turned to her, and everything in him ached. He wanted to cry, and he wanted to rage, and he wanted to make his rage a weapon that would cut himself free forever. Fear, he said. I feel their fear, and for nothing. He could show them something, though. He could show them a reason for their fear. He could show them what he'd discovered within himself in the general's quarters on Invisible Hand. Something of it must have risen on his face, because he saw a flicker of doubt shadow her eyes, just for a second, just a flash. But still, it burned into him like a lightsaber, and he shuddered, and his shudder turned into a shiver that became shaking, and he gathered her to his chest and buried his face in her hair, and the strong, sweet warmth of her cooled him just enough. Padme, he murmured. Oh, Padme, I'm so sorry. Forget I said anything. None of that matters now. I'll be gone from the Order soon, because I will not let you go away to have our baby in some alien place. I will not let you face my dream alone. I will be there for you, Padme. Always. No matter what. I know it, Annie. I know. She pulled gently away and looked up at him. Tears sparkled like red gems in the firelight. Red as the synthetic bloodshine of Dooku's lightsaber. He closed his eyes. She said, Come upstairs, Anakin. The night's getting cold. Come up to our bed. All right, all right. He found that he could breathe again, and his shaking had stilled. He put his arm around her shoulders so that he didn't have to meet her eyes. Just don't say anything to Obi-Wan, all right? And there we have it. There we have a bit of a brief chapter 9, but man, is there some character development in there. You know, I love the way that this sets up, you know, a lot of people excuse Padme's or Anakin's lust for power and his intense focus on mastery as like, oh, he's just trying to save Padme. But it's not just that. It's also very much ego. And I love that this sets up him really gunning for it. Even, you know, this is the moment he had the dream. He already was thinking this way. He was already convinced they don't want me to be master. They're jealous of me. They fear me. And, you know, him thinking they're right to, you know. I could show them. It's such a good look at Anakin. Don't tell Bean. Don't tell Harry. If you could live anywhere in the Star Wars galaxy, where would you like to live? It's kind of a dirt hole, but Batuu seems fun. I know it's on the edge of the galaxy, but there's enough coming and going that it seems like a good time. Naboo would be gorgeous, but I imagine, like, there's got to be slums on a place as pretty as Naboo. It can't all be perfect, you know? Let's see, have you heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Well, we're going to get to that pretty soon. I mean, let's see, where is Plagueis? I think I'm a little bit far here, but it's somewhere around, you know, halfway through this. Nice, Stein, thank you. I got this. This is one that I got just because I feel like it has, like, a little Star Wars vibe. You know, steel, just kind of crude plastic. I could see, like, Cassian Andor drinking out of this. Yeah. Spill a little on myself. You think Batuu is getting a new comic centered around the OG gang? I wouldn't be surprised, given that they're rebranding the parks. I'm sure they want to do some more original trilogy-era stuff there. What do you think would happen if Maul and Savage defeated Sidious? Gosh, I mean, Galaxy falls to utter anarchy, I think. Without Palpatine to run either side of the war, you're left with, you know, a Republic and a CIS actually at odds with one another. The Jedi are still there to try to keep peace, but I don't know. I don't know that they've got the numbers at that point. I think they're too worn down. Maybe they elect a new chancellor and everything just works out, but you'd hate to see it. It would genuinely be a bad thing if Palpatine were to die so suddenly there, which is funny. That's so funny. I've never actually paid attention to or at least I don't remember paying attention that this novel is dedicated to George Lucas in thanks for all of the inspiration that he gave, you know, to an entire generation. That's nice. Nice touch by Stover. But yeah, so that's chapter 9. Look, we're about halfway through. Let's see, how many pages have we got? We're on 173. Do you know the backstory of Jabba the Hutt? Offhand, no. I mean, the earliest I can think of with him is he's mentioned in Darth Plagueis, which is around prequel era, but even then he's already a pod racing owner. I think his backstory is just the average Hutt. I don't think he's particularly exceptional. The Hutts are kind of just Nepo babies. He was just born into the rich family that owns everything. Let's see, 170, and there's 413-ish. So we've got, you know, a little bit longer to reach halfway, but we're getting there, bit by bit. Is Luke's lightsaber from Galaxy's Edge? It is. This is here. I got it in Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities. Oops. Look at that. Ooh. Wonder if he is ever mentioned in the High Republic. That's a good question. They do touch on the Hutts a bit. I'd have to look it up, see if there's ever a reference to him. I don't think Hutts live that long, though. I'm not sure that Jabba will be born yet. Oh, that's interesting. You thought he was the leader of the bounty hunters. Oh, no. I mean, Jabba hires a lot of bounty hunters, but he's not really their leader. It's mostly just that they know he's a steady source of income because Jabba always has someone he wants brought in. But no, the Hutts are a massive crime syndicate. They rule a huge portion of the galaxy, and they have been for centuries. The Hutts are basically the mafia. So Jabba is just the newest in a long line of Hutts that have ruled over this or that portion of the galaxy. Don't know why he laid claim to Tatooine of all places. Kind of a dump. But yeah, no, he's essentially just one of them in there. Let's see. You thought Hutts lived around the same as Yoda. I'm struggling to remember how long Hutts live. The only reference point we have is Stinky, who was a baby in the Clone Wars era, but by the time of the Mandalorian is a grown adult. So, clearly by 30, they've matured. But I don't know how much longer past that they live. So, Hutts are long-lived in the EU, but how long-lived? I know they're longer than, humans, but, are we talking century? Are we talking millennium? We got a wide range in this series. Hundreds of... Okay. So, in that case, he could be around in the High Republic. Let's see. Honestly, I think Padme or Bail Organa or Mon Mothma would find a way to ease relations in the event that Palpatine died, you're saying? That's possible. There are certainly enough people on both sides that do genuinely want peace. But I think, unfortunately, easing relations isn't really much of an option since Dooku and the Trade Federation and, the Council of Separatist leaders just want war for the sake of it. They want to profit off of it. What y'all know about Bulcha the Hutt? I don't recognize the name. I don't know him. I need to remember the name of my favorite Hutt, which is the little baby Hutt from the High Republic. I should grab... It's up on the top shelf, though. I need to get up on top of my chair. Hashtag Padme for Chancellor. She'd be a better one than Palpatine. But I think, unfortunately, it's just too late. We need a what-if series for Star Wars and have Anakin defeat Sidious and get Ahsoka to the dark side. Could be interesting. I always stand by. I prefer stuff that contributes to, the overall story. So, what-ifs don't hold a ton of appeal for me, but I think it could be neat. Oh. Flickering the lights. Let's see. Ooh, we're at a good time. I think we'll probably... I'll stay on until 8, and then we'll hop off. A Stinka fan club. There's 2 of us, and we're a powerful bunch, Corbin. Bulcha the Hutt is actually hilarious. He's from the Young Jedi Adventures kids show. Oh, okay. I've been thinking I really should go back and watch through that because it's very kiddie, but just to say I have, Plus, I love that Loden is in it, my boy. The Episode 3 game has a what if of Anakin beating Obi-Wan on Mustafar. Yes, a classic. And he instantly betrays Palpatine. It's sick. It's fun to see little one-off bits here and there. Let's see. Maul may want to plant himself in the Separatists' side. Could be. I feel like Maul would just want to keep his distance. Maul had his own thing going on. He was ruling, a crime syndicate at that point. I don't think he really needed the Separatist Council. Let's see. Even though you're not the biggest Star Wars fan, you have to admit that Vader is the greatest villain ever. Oh, yeah. Anyone who argues against that, you could say maybe not but he's certainly top 5. Vader is unmatched. 40K beats all science fiction put together. I think the popularity of it speaks to that not being true. 40K is cool, but it doesn't have the broad appeal of something like Star Wars. Especially because Star Wars could contain something similar to 40K. I saw someone recently who just put the entire 40K map in next to a section of the galaxy far, far away and just said, yeah, no, that's all happening in here, which I think would be hilarious. Let's see. If Vader got Ahsoka to be his apprentice, they would be unstoppable. True, but Ahsoka would never join Vader. I think he did too good a job training her. Ahsoka, by that point, was just too good. She wouldn't turn on the Jedi way. Even if she called herself not a Jedi anymore, she still followed their edicts. You liked YJA. Watched with your little sibling, it was nice. Yeah, there's a lot of cute stuff in it. I watched, like, the first season, and it's, like, it's charming. See how he didn't disagree about 40K being the best? I do disagree. But I get the appeal to 40K. It's just not really for me. I don't have the patience for all those miniatures. Speaking of Star Wars Legion, yeah, you want to paint your Star Wars Legion Republic with a Sith Anakin leading them. It could be cool. It's, it's set in that brief alternate timeline. Personally, Megatron is your favorite villain, but he doesn't have Vader's impact. I'd say Megatron is, he's a great one, but Vader is just on another level. I think Megatron, I may sound stupid when I say this. How old is Megatron? I feel like there's a lot of Megatron that is kind of taken inspiration from Vader. The fact that he and Optimus have their history together. I feel like there's a lot of, certainly, Empire in the Decepticons. Let's see. Is it valid to say Rogue One was one of the worst films in the franchise? I mean, I don't know what valid means in that context. I think it's wild. You don't like Rogue One? I mean, not loving it is one thing, but, like, worst in the franchise. This is a franchise with some bad movies. It's certainly not that bad. Let's see. Gonna be so for real. You thought I was wearing an AOT cosplay. I kind of see that every time I put this on. It's got the right tone and fit. Thank you, Paige. Welcome. How you doing? How's the weather? It's chilly here. For Florida, it's chilly. It's been a cool period, but we're finally getting back to some warmth. That's why I've missed the last 2 Sundays, because I've been recovering from a cold. And so unless, I was going to come on here sounding like Dr. Teeth, I had to give myself a week. Let's see. All Love Road lore is worth the 500 books to choose from in 40K? That's nuts. That is a disproportionate, that's more books than there are Star Wars books. And I'm sure these sell more. That's a wild amount. I have respect for the authors that made that many 40K books. Hell yeah. If Vader survived, do you think Luke could protect him from everyone that hated Vader? Absolutely not. Unless they, vanish. If Vader disappears fully, maybe. But if he's even remotely in contact with anyone, he's going to jail for a long time. Oh, excuse me. You finally finished them all last night. You have Empire Strikes Back as your number 1, followed closely by Return of the Jedi. Excellent picks. Both great choices. Me personally, New Hope is always the number 1, but, I 100% understand either of those choices. They are phenomenal. I think Empire is the best one. I just prefer A New Hope. I think that New Hope's fun spirit is something that more Star Wars projects should try to match. Do you think that after Mando releases, we could see more post-Rise of Skywalker books announced? Probably not Mando. Probably after the Rey movie. I figure they're waiting until they have that locked down before they commit to anything else about it. Vizsla, no Jedi robe. No, today we were just doing a Revenge of the Sith reading, so none of the pomp and circumstance, just a little bit of a book talk. Let's see, you're the one who got me into Star Wars. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it. And yeah, you appreciate it so much as someone who never gave it a chance. I'm thrilled that you did. I'm thrilled that you like it, and I'm thrilled that I've made that impact. It's such a delight that to know that I've made a difference in people and that I've inspired anything. So I appreciate you sharing that with me. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Benjamin, for the follow. And let's see. You saw my outlandish video idea and you love it. I'm glad. It's because there are some ideas that I have, I would love a Luke Skywalker show. That it's okay, obviously, most people would be on board with that. I think the only people who wouldn't are the ones who are blanket saying nothing about the Skywalkers get into whole new eras. But opera musical is already a hard sell in Star Wars based on a moderately obscure comic series that was mixed reviews even at the time. I mean, it wasn't terribly reviewed, but like there's some stuff that has aged a little dated about it. And so I know a lot of people would balk, but like I'm glad that some people resonate because I think that's such a cool idea. There's so much high drama in Tales of the Jedi. I would love to really shift it as it comes to a new medium. Let's see. Pick one novel to bring from the EU and what change you'd make so it fits canon. Just one. The toughest part is going to be picking one that could feasibly become canon. Like, Thrawn trilogy are great, but that would take a lot of changing to make canon, and I don't think I could pull it off, Luke Skywalker and the Shadows of Mindor I could pull in pretty easily. Ooh, no, I know exactly which one, and it's Shatterpoint. Shatterpoint with Mace Windu, because the only reason it can't be canon, or I could be canon, I guess, but Depa Billaba getting a Padawan after the events of Shatterpoint is unthinkable. So, Shatterpoint is canon, but Mace has a second apprentice that he had before Depa, and that's the one who's on Harun Call. That's the one who goes crazy. Depa is then his second apprentice who doesn't do that, and she has a good time. Because she does some wild stuff. The idea that she would be granted Kanan afterwards is insane. Let's see, Megatron's age is apparently 9 million years. Oh yeah, bro is one of the all-time haters. And Dylan, sorry for all the questions the past few weeks. Never apologize for a question. I'm thrilled to answer them. It's what I'm here for. An adult High Republic show would be your pick. That would also be great. I would love anything set in the High Republic. And you're always looking for more Star Wars content creators who are more on the chill side. I'm glad I fit that description. And let's see. We know for sure Abeloth might be canon at some point. I don't know about for sure, but it's certainly like the popular. It's the way we think things are going, given the focus on the Mortis gods. But we'll see. I don't know. I mean, they're a Filoni original, so he may not necessarily be inclined to do what EU authors did with his thing, I'll be interested to see if he does want to. Let's see. Shari, though, you'd like to see Kyle from the Jedi Knight games. I would love to see Kyle Katarn on the big screen. That's when I talk about a Luke show, Kyle Katarn is something I would want to bring into it. I really want them to introduce the idea that Luke taught other students before he officially founded his temple on Ossus. So that way you can have the idea of him passing on his knowledge before all the students were going to die. And to me, that's the perfect instance to include characters like Kyle Katarn or maybe even Mara Jade, who, quite frankly, never really fit the tone of a Jedi anyways. Like, the idea that Kyle Katarn went from mercenary to monk is weird. And a part of that is, like, the way that Jedi were perceived changed between originals and prequels. But as now we know it, Kyle isn't really much of a Jedi. So I imagine, like, he would learn the Jedi arts, but then not actually call himself a Jedi. He'd just kind of keep doing his own thing with Jedi training. And I think that would be a great way of introducing, like sort of a ripple effect that Luke could have, even though all of his students are going to die. Let's see. Is it just me that thinks Maul and Anakin have some resemblance, like their overconfidence and hate? Oh, absolutely, in those. I mean, those are just trademarks of a good Sith, let's see. Lord Goob says to bring in Plagueis to change how Palpatine met Maul. Do you actually need to change that part? I think that would work fine with canon. You do need to change how he meets Dooku. Palpatine and Dooku meet in that differently than they meet in Jedi Lost. But there are a handful of small changes you would need to make to Plagueis. But I would also, that would be a close second point. And let's see. Mace Windu was always your favorite good guy as a kid. Mace kicks ass. I love him. He is so underappreciated. What do you think about how Disney handled Ezra Bridger's return? I like some elements, and I dislike others. I think Ezra's vibe is perfect. I think the actor is phenomenal. Absolutely nailed it. And I love the idea that he isn't using a lightsaber anymore. I kind of wish he kept not using one, but him building a new one immediately does sort of take that back a bit. I think Disney... And I'd say even I think Dave Filoni struggles with writing emotional intimacy, and he kind of avoids any intense moments because of that. And so you have this very dramatic reunion of long lost friends after a decade that plays out kind of like, hey, good to see you again. And it's underwhelming. I, I'm upset about the way that Ezra reunites with Sabine. I'm livid about the way that he reunites with Hera. The fact that they cut to black after just hi, you're telling me that woman isn't going to run to embrace her son? Give me a tearful reunion. Give me the emotion of these characters. That's what makes them so strong, and I don't love that he avoids that. So that would be my biggest issue. But there are also, like I said, a lot of things that I really love about it. I really can't say enough good about the actor. The guy that got to play Ezra is perfect for the role. Let's see. Vader versus Maul in the Maul show. Maybe. Could be cool. I hope so. Let's see. Yeah, Goob. In the book, it was a Night Sister wanting a better life for baby Maul. Yeah. I remember what it is in Plagueis. I can't remember what it is in canon that's different from that. Do we know, I guess, how they meet? It's always tough keeping track of the two versions. How would you introduce Abeloth into canon? Would you have Cal face her as a boss? I think Cal would probably die if he came across Abeloth. But the answer is I don't necessarily know that I would introduce Abeloth into canon. I don't love a lot of the stuff around the Celestials, so Abeloth kind of gets lumped into that. I think that the Mortis gods got a lot overblown to what I would have preferred. I wish they were a bit smaller still. Let's see, you think we're going to get both Mara and Kyle stand-ins in a post-Rise of Skywalker story? It's possible. I still wish it were just actually them. I mean, a Kyle stand-in, Kyle's kind of just a guy, so if you lose the fact that it's Kyle Katarn, he's kind of just no one. I mean, people refer to Cassian Andor as just Kyle Katarn, too. Let's see, Luca, do you recommend the Thrawn books? You love Thrawn and Rebels, and you would love to learn more about him. I strongly recommend the Thrawn books. I adore them. The base canon Thrawn trilogy, which is the 2017 Thrawn books, those three are fantastic, and I definitely recommend them. They're tie-ins to Rebels. Then there's the Thrawn Ascendancy books, which are still canon. Those are a much more dense, very political book trilogy. A lot of military discussion and strategizing, so they can be a bit wordy, a bit complex for some people, but I recommend giving them a shot because I also think that they're great. And then the Legends Heir to the Empire trilogy, not necessarily canon anymore, but still very good. Big recommendation for anything by Timothy Zahn, really. Let's see, KTB, have you read Red Rising? I haven't. A friend of mine recommended it to me forever ago, and it is on my to-be-read list, but I've got so many on my to-be-read list. I gotta catch up. Let's see, you think Sidious killed Plagueis in his sleep because he was afraid to fight him? I don't know that afraid is necessarily the right word, but I think he's just, pardon the word, insidious enough and underhanded enough that he didn't care to fight him. You know, I think Sidious was pretty confident that if it came to blows, he could win, but he just didn't respect Plagueis enough to give him the option. It was just, I'm getting rid of you the easiest way possible. It was a partnership between Palps and Talzin where he took Maul and then cut ties with her. Oh, yeah, there was something about that in Clone Wars, wasn't there? That's why she's mad when she sees him again, yeah. I gotta rewatch those episodes. I gotta refresh myself, especially as we're about to get Maul. I should do my reading. Plagueis would have annihilated Sidious if he didn't drug him? I don't know. Plagueis isn't the most, he's not the most powerful Sith Lord. I don't know that I even put him in the top 5. Sidious is a very powerful wizard. I think he could probably hold his own. Let's see, you hope we get Revan at some point. You know, he's sort of canon, but it's also a deleted scene. Well, so Revan is more so someone named Revan existed, because the Sith on Exegol refer to Revan. We don't know what they did or who they were. And so I kind of hope, a lot of people want a Revan movie or trilogy or whatever. I would rather just give me a Revan, just redo the game. Just make the game again, remake it, updated graphics and all, and make that canon. Because I think that the game is good as is. And it would be fun to have him again. I think everyone mostly kind of views Revan as canon anyways. Let's see, can you remind me who the old Jedi is with the long head? You remember him being in the Lego Star Wars games. There are a couple who could fit that description. I think you're most likely thinking of Ki-Adi-Mundi, right? Who it's just his head that's real long and thin, and he's what about the droid attack on the Wookiees? That guy? Let's see. So you've seen a video about bleeding the Darksaber. Do you think that's possible or not? It's an interesting idea. What kind of crystal is in the Darksaber? I can't remember. Have we learned that? Do we know what it's made of? It'll be interesting. Let's see. I don't think so overall. I think the fact that it's so unique, there must be something different about its crystal. It would be cool if it could turn into some unique kind of bled lightsaber. Maybe like a flame sword or something. The fandom treats Plagueis as Vidiot, and it's just not true. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. I feel like that's the vibe I was getting. Get the guy who wrote Andor to write a Darth Revan film. No, like I was saying, don't make Revan a movie. Get the guy who wrote Andor to write everything, ever. But I don't think... I think Revan loses a lot if you make it a movie. I think Revan works best as a video game. The second you commit to anything canon, he gets worse. Ugh, Stovefish, you've brought the one name I don't welcome here. Get that Corrin out of here. Gross. Let's see, Goob. They cut Revan and Bane from Clone Wars. Yoda was gonna talk to them. Well, Bane, yeah, he eventually made it in with his new appearance. But yeah, it's, I think George just didn't like the look of Bane, which I get it. His Legends appearance, can I be frank, ugly as hell. He looks stupid, and I hate it. I also think that the canon appearance for him is boring, and so they should have done something a bit, maybe between the two. I think there's so much potential for, insectoid samurai. That's something that, Pokemon has done. The Kubo movie by Laika did it. It's a really cool aesthetic, and I wish they had just blended the two instead of just doing, he's a samurai in samurai armor. Let's see. Benjamin, we were supposed to get a remake of the Old Republic game that was announced in 2020. It's canceled now. I don't think it actually has been canceled. At least last I heard, it's still in development in theory. It's just in development hell, so it's been taking a long time. But I think hypothetically they're still coming. Let's see. You believe there's a theory that the pearl from a crate dragon can be turned into a kyber crystal. I don't know. It would have to be just a theory because I'm pretty sure that's not canon, and I don't think I like it. That's not really how pearls work. And that is the kyber crystal in the Darksaber. Also interesting, but I don't know. It feels unrelated. It feels like something separating Mandalore. I would rather it be like an ancient Mandalorian crystal of some sort, Do you believe in aliens? I think it's possible. I don't close my mind to anything, but I don't believe necessarily any of the evidence we've seen. It was in a novel or something. I could be wrong. I'd have to look up when. You think the crate crystal can be used in the KOTOR game in a lightsaber? Interesting. That would suggest that it's not the Darksaber, but that's intriguing. I don't know that I like... Now, KOTOR admittedly was at a time when I don't think it needed to be a kyber crystal yet, because back in the day it was just you needed a crystal. You could use an amethyst or an emerald as your lightsaber crystal, and then it was channeled through that. George said it's this specific kind. So I think that was after KOTOR, though. It must have been, because that would be like Clone Wars. KOTOR remake is still in development. Hell yeah. Maybe in 10 years or so, we'll finally get that coming. Let's see. What do you think about Darth Kreia? I like Kreia as a character. I disagree with her on almost everything she says, but I liked that she was there. I think Kreia is a great example of why the dark side is so defeatist. Why it's such a even people who like claim that, oh, the dark side is more powerful, whatever. It's just a bad ideology, because even at its Kreia is an example of the dark side at its best, and it's still terrible, you know. But I really liked her being there. I enjoyed constantly having someone to say, like, you are wrong about everything you say. It was a pretty mess show, but how do you think Obi-Wan's PTSD was handled in Kenobi? I think it was one of the strengths. I agree that it was I was going to say an okay show, but that's generous. But I think that some of the emotional content for Obi-Wan was solid. And I think that some of the moments between him and Vader were also pretty good. Full potential, who do you think would be the strongest Sith? I never really get into the full potential conversations. We're having like hypothetical characters at a certain point, you know? Do you think the Disney movies should be retconned? No. I said the same thing when people asked about the prequels, should they be retconned? I don't think we should be retconning things willy-nilly. I accepted it once when the franchise changed hands, because it's like, okay, this is an opportunity to just wipe the slate clean and start over. If you were to retcon the Disney movies, are we retconning everything else? Everything that's come out since Disney? Can we retcon any other projects? I think that we've gotten a lot of good that I don't want to lose, and I think I would rather build on what doesn't work than just say, like, all right, forget it, we try it again. Especially because you're losing the faith of the audience, 100% certainly. If audience members can't even tell, like, is this going to matter, which they already are kind of experiencing, then they're not going to necessarily be interested in checking out the next thing. What's that mic? This is a Fifine mic. You could check my TikTok shop showcase. I've got one of these listed in there. I think it's very nice. I'm a big fan of this mic. That's fair. I was just meaning of feats we've seen. Oh, I mean, so like not full potential, just like, which Sith would win. Even that I don't get into a ton, but I do think Sidious is probably the strongest Sith we've seen on screen. That's kind of the whole point of the Bane line, is that each one is more powerful than the last, culminating in Sidious, which is why he's the last one, because he beat his apprentice. What's your opinion on them doing a second season of The Acolyte? Same thing I said about the sequels. I would rather build on something and try to get it into a better state. I wish they had given it a second season to try and improve on the stuff that didn't work about the first. Who's your favorite background character? Probably Erskine Samaj from Andor. Dude is absolutely based. Complete Chad of a character. Erskine is the coolest dude that exists. What doesn't work, Disney writers? Tony Gilroy wrote for Disney the best project that Star Wars has maybe ever had. The only Star Wars project that might be better than Empire Strikes Back. Do you think a standalone Plo Koon show or game would pop off? Probably not. As much as I love Plo, I don't know that he's got the gumption for a full show or game. Maybe a book about Plo. Let's see. You've always liked the alien who worked in the diner. Was his name Dexter? Yes, Dexter Jetster. He's also up there. He's really good. I love me some Dex. Let's see. Cut the Leia chase and escape scenes, and it becomes a decent show. Maybe change the Reva scenes. I think there's a lot of changes that need to be made. I'm very excited for. There's a YouTuber named. His channel is Pixel Joker 95, and he's working on an edit of Kenobi to turn it into a movie instead of a TV show, which is something that's been done before, but his looks very promising. He's doing a lot of like new VFX work and recording a lot of new material to really augment the show, not just, recutting the footage they already shot. And I think that that's a sick concept. I'm very excited for that whenever it finally comes out. If ever, I suppose. Some of y'all haven't been reading your Joseph Campbell, and it shows. Joseph Campbell's work is great. Classic archetypal. Let's see. Strong take, but you think Sidious is overrated? Sidious is pretty powerful. He almost got defeated by Mace, almost got defeated by a clone trooper. The clone trooper did not stand a chance. Sidious is pretending that the clone trooper could do anything to him. Mace, if anything, I think you're underestimating Mace. That's not a show of how weak Sidious is. That's a show of how strong Mace is. He is an incredible duelist. Almost beat the most powerful Sith Lord in the galaxy. You see, I got some lightsabers in the background. Do you have any Star Wars Hot Toys or Black Series? I have one Hot Toys figure. It is Luke Skywalker from A New Hope, and it is up on top of my bookshelf. If you watch any of my main videos, you can probably see it. And I have, a full shelf of Black Series figures. I got a collection. You can check my YouTube channel. I've got a video showing them all off. I also posted it on TikTok, but frankly, TikTok is unnavigable if you're looking for anything older than like 2 weeks. Let's see. Cherry Blossom needs vitamin, Alex. Oh, she's actually sweet. I thought that was a comment on my voice because I feel like I sound like I'm dying. I really should hop off soon. I said I was going to get off 20 minutes ago, but I'm just having so much fun chatting with y'all. But my voice is starting to throw a fit in revenge against me. He was just playing around with Maul and Savage. Oh, yeah, he could have wiped them way quicker. Have you read Master of Evil? I have. It's not bad. It's not my favorite. I think there were some other routes I wish he could have taken, and I don't like it as much as his other book. But overall, I like Master of Evil a lot. No, maybe not a lot, but I liked it. Let's see. You always thought that the Boba Fett series should have taken place when he first puts on his armor to Return of the Jedi. I don't know. I don't know that there's all that much to do with him. He's kind of just doing bounties for the next, 10 years or so. I think that post Return of the Jedi is the most interesting time for Boba to show off what he gets up to. That being said, I also wish they had done some different stuff. But overall, I think that the setting was right. It's kind of, some people say the same thing about the sequels. Is like, oh, they should have been set hundreds of years later. No, we wanted to see Luke, Han, and Leia old. We wanted to see them in their golden years. Guiding their grandchildren forward. Whether or not we approve of everything that happened in those movies is another matter. The timeline is correct. Let's see. You think it was disrespectful that Obi left Annie to burn like he did? I'm gonna get out. There's a passage from Revenge of the Sith that I think explains that decision perfectly, and I adore it. You thought Appa was gonna die, maybe at Vader's hands. Yeah, I'm glad too. Well, I don't know how long he's kicking after that. I know that Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader isn't canon anymore, but better news about Appa and that. I don't know, when's the latest we've seen Appa canonically? I don't know if they're necessarily going to keep that death, though. Let's see. Here we go. I flipped one too many backwards. So, when Obi-Wan sees Anakin burning, you got to remember that Padme is on the ship, maybe dying. That Anakin choked her into unconsciousness, and that there is a Sith Lord incoming to fetch his apprentice. So Obi-Wan experiences this. This is another example of how great the Revenge of the Sith novel is. Below his feet, Darth Vader burst into flame. "I hate you," he screamed. Obi-Wan looked down. It would be a mercy to kill him. He was not feeling merciful. He was feeling calm and clear, and he knew that to climb down to that black beach might cost him more time than he had. Another Sith Lord approached. In the end, there was only one choice. It was a choice he had made many years before, when he had passed his trials of Jedi knighthood and sworn himself to the Jedi forever. In the end, he was still Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he was still a Jedi, and he would not murder a helpless man. He would leave it to the will of the Force. He turned and walked away. And after a moment, he began to run. So, that is, to me, a perfect explanation. Is Obi-Wan going to cut Vader down? Is he going to finish him off? Is it not, giving in to his anger to want to execute Anakin? The will of the Force can finish him off if that's the way it should be. But he feels that that's what he wants to have. God, that sentence was nonsense, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. Wow, that makes sense. Yeah, that's why I love this book so much. It's chapter 9 and then a brief glimpse ahead at the very end of the book. But we all know what happens, right? Read another story. Is that derisive, like I'm always reading Revenge of the Sith because I should be? Or is it keep reading passages because don't tempt me. Let's see. What you love with Revenge of the Sith is it really shows how far the Sith would go to gain power. Oh, yeah. They took their time. Really went in deep. 1,000 years of planning for 20 years of rule. Although I guess they didn't intend it to be that way. And Jay makes a great point. Yeah, Obi-Wan leaving Anakin is the exact opposite of what Anakin did to Dooku. He knows better. What do you think of both Palp's prior apprentices and Grievous foreshadowing what Anakin will become? Yeah, it's a fun bit of theming. Maul being a dark... No, what is it? Maul being an orphan? Because then it's Dooku is a fallen Jedi and Grievous is a cyborg. What is Maul supposed to be? Just that he is groomed by Palpatine? That he was an orphan? But yeah, whatever it is, it's always a fun connective tissue between them. So let's see. So you imagine he felt the same when they fight in the Obi-Wan series? Yeah, probably. I don't like that one as much. I think that one's a bit of a mistake. I think that Obi-Wan leaving him at that point, here he says, yeah, it's the will of the Force. He doesn't know what Anakin's going to become. At that point, he acknowledges, like, Anakin is dead. This is just the monster Vader. And the fact that he doesn't kill him there, I think, is a mistake. I wish, you could have done, like, The Force Awakens. Just rip apart the planet, stop the duel artificially. I think that would have been better. From the background of guessing you like Star Trek, I do like Star Trek. But I also like Star Wars. Let's see. El Ranger, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm glad you'll be sticking around to hear more stories. I read a chapter of Revenge of the Sith every Sunday, usually at 10 a.m. EST. But lately I've had a cold, and I've been busy, so I rearranged this one. But for the most part, I'll be around then. Or you can check out my YouTube channel to see I upload every chapter eventually. I'm very bad about keeping up with it, but eventually every chapter does make its way there, so you can listen to the full intermittent and mixed quality audiobook. Always took it as Maul being an overconfident apprentice. It could be that too. I swear it is something more literal about him. Daniel Walter says Thrawn or Tarkin. I adore Thrawn. Thrawn is one of my favorite Star Wars characters, period. So that's gotta go to Thrawn. Gotta go to my blue boy. Do you think Qui-Gon knew Anakin would eventually turn? God, I hope not. Be a real bonehead move to bring him into the Order if he knew that. I think he believed in Anakin, and I think Anakin let him down. Let's see. How are you displaying your lightsabers? That's not the stand they come with. No, these don't come with them. I got them, I think, just on Amazon. You can look up lightsaber holders. And it's just a two-part set. One little cradle for the hilt, and then there's a little ring that the blade itself clips into to hold it vertical. And they're nice. Yeah. Get that up there. All right, but with that, 8:30, I really ought to hop off. I ought to get myself some sore throat medicine, and hopefully by next Sunday, by the time we do this as an actual live, I'll be back to sounding good. How's it going, Artemisa? Thank you. I love the jacket. I wish I could wear this more, but it's falling apart. Absolute tatters. But it's one of my all-time favorites. So yeah, anyone new? Like I said, I go live Sundays at 10 a.m. EST to read Revenge of the Sith. I'm also live Thursdays at 7 p.m. EST, just chatting Star Wars. So if you ever want to come join me for that, you can come as well. Thank you, Jay, for the follow. And I hope to see y'all later. I hope to see y'all next time. Feel free to follow to join my Discord server. There's a link in the bio, so you can get updates whenever we're going live, or we can just chat off live as well. But I hope to see y'all here again. Thank you all so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, as always. And also, as always, may the Force be with you. Oh, I said it too soon.